If you just bought the Canon M50 with the 15 to 45mm lens, or you're thinking of buying one, and you're a beginning photographer, this video is for you. If you're a little overwhelmed by all the buttons and settings and just want to start making good photos and videos, this video is for you. Isom Phillips here. Thank you so much for watching. Photography has been my passion for over 30 years, doing professional as well as personal work. And in this video, I'll show you the quickest and easiest way to get started, even if you don't know an f-stop from a bus stop. So let's jump in. One of the reasons I wanted to make this video is I recently saw a post on social media from a person who had just bought their M50, and they were so disappointed in the pictures they were getting, saying they weren't as good as the ones they had taken with their smartphone. They went on to say they just wanted to take some good photos without having to mess with a lot of settings they didn't understand. And that made me think, there are a lot of people like that, and you may be one of them. I have a friend who takes beautiful bird photos and nature landscapes. She has no interest in learning anything beyond the auto settings on her camera, and that works for her. She's happy with the results she gets. I personally think that learning the basics of lighting and learning what's called the exposure triangle, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, will open up the full creative capability of your camera. But I also recognize that modern digital cameras allow you to produce great images and video in automatic modes. And for a lot of people, that suits all their photography needs. So let's talk about the M50 and why it's such a great camera for beginners as well as experienced photographers. First, just a few tips if you are a new or fairly new M50 user. Number one, get a spare battery. The M50 battery life is not that good, so keep a spare handy. You don't have to get the Canon version. Off-brands work just as well. Number two, get a decent sized memory card, at least a 64 gigabyte, but preferably a 128 gigabyte. Then you never have to worry about your card being full in the middle of a shoot. I'll leave a link to both of those in the description if you want to check them out. Also, try to shoot in a lot of light for the best image quality. The 15 to 45mm kit lens is not particularly good in low light. In auto mode, the camera will signal you to add the pop-up flash in low light, and that helps somewhat. But if you do a lot of shooting indoors, you may want to invest in a separate flash. The Canon flashes are quite expensive, so I suggest third-party brands like Yongnuo or Godox. Just make sure the model you buy is compatible with Canon flashes. I'll leave a link to those in the description as well. The M50 is a great beginner's camera, and as your skills grow, you can unlock the full creative possibilities of the camera. I like to think of it like this. If you remember learning to ride a bicycle as a kid, you probably started off on a bike with training wheels which allowed you to enjoy the fun of riding while you developed the skill to balance and control the bike before the wheels came off and you were riding all on your own in full control of the bicycle. The M50 is the same. It has built-in training wheels so you can start having fun with photography right away. And as your skills develop, you can remove the wheels, take full control of the camera, explore your inner creativity, and have even more fun with photography. Start by setting the guides in the menu. Press the menu button and go to the green tab in the menu settings. There you can set how the menu will be displayed. The guided option will help to navigate the camera settings. The mode guide will give you a brief example of each mode on the dial. The feature guide will give you tips as you move through the different modes and settings. When you have a good understanding of the different menu settings and modes, you can go back and change the menu settings to standard. First, set the camera for the best image quality. Go to the shooting menu, that's the red tab, and select the large L. This will give you the best JPEG quality and take full advantage of the camera's 24 megapixels. The other settings will give you good results, but with a smaller file size, and those are good for photos where the quality is not as important. Later, you may want to switch to RAW mode, where the camera captures more detail that you can manipulate in processing. To get started taking photos right away, select the green auto mode on the mode dial. The camera will take care of all the settings and allow you to compose your shot. You can find many tutorials on composition on YouTube and other places on the internet, but the best way to learn is through continuous practice. One of the great features of the M50 is that even in the auto mode, the camera gives you creative choices that are easy to access. In auto mode, you'll see an icon in the right-hand corner of the screen. That's a color wheel with a paintbrush. Tap the icon on the touch screen or use the Q button to reveal creative options in auto mode. You can scroll through the options using the scroll wheel surrounding the shutter button or touch them on the screen. There you can adjust brightness, saturation, contrast, color tone, even background blur with sliders that you can move with your finger on the screen or by, again, using the scroll wheel. You can also switch to black and white with different tint options. This allows you to have some control over the look of the image without having a complete understanding of shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. In addition to the auto mode, there's also the scene mode, SCN on the dial. In this mode, the camera automatically gives you the best settings for particular events or situations like sports, close-ups, food pictures, panning, night shots, backlit shots, and silent mode in situations where the camera sounds would be a distraction. There's also a landscape setting, as well as portrait modes, even a self-portrait mode. The guided menu will show you an example of each mode. Another mode you may want to experiment with is the filters mode, and you can access it on the dial here. The filters mode lets you apply different effects to your photos such as grainy black and white, soft focus, fisheye lens effect, miniature effect, toy camera effect, and different painterly HDR, that's high definition resolution effects. Keep in mind these effects are processed in camera and can run your battery down quickly. After experimenting for a while with the different auto modes, you may want to gradually move to controlling settings on the camera. And I would suggest you start by using the AV and TV modes. The AV and TV are aperture priority and shutter priority. The AV and TV is Canon terms, which mean aperture value and time value. In these modes, you set one of the values, aperture or shutter speed, and the camera sets the other. You can also select your desired ISO or set it to auto. A more detailed explanation of these modes is a subject for another video, but for now, just know that this is a good first step toward determining your own settings as opposed to using auto settings, and a first step to using full manual controls if you want to get the full creative capability of your camera. As for video, it's pretty simple in auto mode. Just move the mode wheel to movie. Push the Q button to select the resolution and frame rate. For starters, I recommend using 1080p at 24 frames per second. Here is a helpful tip. Go to the shooting menu, that's the red tab, scroll over to page 5, and select BTN function. Press enter, that's the set button, and select fully press start/stop movie record. You can then start the movie recording with the normal shutter button instead of the little red record button. That makes it a whole lot easier than hunting for that little red button when you're ready to shoot video. If you have questions or comments about the M50, please leave them in the comments section below and let me know if you would be interested in more videos about the M50 and what particular area you would be interested in. Be sure to give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.